Good morning, CLC.
Morning.
Welcome to a lovely Sunday morning. We hope you had a fantastic week, and we hope you're looking forward to the week ahead. And with that, I invite you to say with me, Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all the good I am and have, all the good I give and receive. I am prosperous now, and so it is. And now I invite you to take a few deep breaths. With each out breath, allow your body to relax just a little bit more, putting aside anything going on in your life, anything that has happened, anything coming up. Just let it go for right now. Allow your mind to rest, your body to rest, and be here now. Universal love enfolds me. Universal wisdom inspires me. Universal spirit enlightens me. Universal power encircles me. I am one and all is well. As we begin the inner healing process, let me invite you to relax in quiet confidence, opening yourself to the miracle-working higher power. Now symbolize the unity of your thinking and feeling nature by touching your chest with your right hand, and let my words act as your own for your own inner healing, acceptance, and receptivity. I acknowledge that there is a power, intelligence, and wisdom greater than my own. I am in the midst of it, and it is in the midst of me, sensitive and responsive to my every thought, word, action, and feeling. I now make this true for myself by saying aloud, I acknowledge. Acknowledging the higher power working through my life, I admit that I am personally responsible for solving my own problems while being guided and assisted by something greater than myself. As I am ready to surrender the conflicts of my ego to the wisdom of the infinite presence, I simply speak these words. I surrender. Knowing that forgiveness is the key to unconditional love and the feeling of heaven, I now unconditionally forgive anyone and everyone who has ever injured me in any way, real or imagined. And I now forgive myself for all my mistaken judgments and their resulting actions. From my deepest level of understanding, I now say, I forgive. Realizing that I continually experience the effects of my own thinking, I now choose to allow this higher power to recreate me deeply, filling my mind with thoughts that are only positive, constructive, loving, and beautiful. I call upon this divine inflow by stating aloud, I choose. I now center upon that one special idea that I am willing to accept as real for me in this coming week. Visualizing the idea as already acted upon and brought to pass, in seeing my idea become a fact of my experience, I enjoy the happiness and peace of my thought fulfilled and gratefully speak these words. I accept.
I accept.
Knowing that I have an everlasting place in the midst of the power that sustains all creation, as well as the support of all those around me, I allow myself to relax in the peace of fulfillment and gratitude and say, I release. Now, in my mind's eye, I envision the presence of someone near and dear to me. This can be a friend, a family member, a teacher or mentor, someone who has touched my life in deep and loving ways. Someone who may not be physically present in the room this morning. I turn toward that image in my mind's eye and say, I'm grateful for the good in your life.
I'm grateful for the good.
Now I open my eyes, turn to the world around me, and joyfully speak to anyone physically present in the room or virtually on this broadcast, and share in gratitude and confidence in saying, I am grateful for the good in your life.
As Daniel said in the announcements, thank you so much to Reverend Ronnie Lister. Thank you so much to Reverend Arthur Johnson. Reverend Arthur Johnson spoke for us last Sunday. I am continuing in the theme that he set for us, the energy that he left here on this stage. He was speaking to you. His topic was, you are your power to succeed. And he was talking to you. Except, no, he really wasn't. He was talking to me. He was talking to me. I was sitting here, and he used the word you, but he was talking to me. And you at home, you know who you are. He was talking to you as the me that you are. He was talking to each one of us individually. And this is what a great speaker and what a great teacher does, is they speak in generalities about you out there in TV land, and you, the spiritual seeker, and you, the student, can do this and this, and you hear it as being about me, as you hear it about yourself. And no one else. The rest of the world sort of fades for a moment into kind of this blurry backdrop, and it becomes about the self. It becomes about the self. So this week, this month, we're working on a theme, key to yourself, partly in celebration of Women's History Month, partly in a continuation of our basic series on the science mind, which started in January and is going to run forever. It's just going to run forever. Whatever else happens, it's going to run forever. It's going to be about the basics of the science mind. But the key to yourself, there's one key to yourself, but many locks. That's what I've figured out. Many doors, many corridors, many doors, one key. One key, ultimately. Spiritual practice is the name I give to that key, spiritual practice. We say, well, the key is God, you know. Yeah, but God is. God exists. God always has. Or if you prefer the name source or the name ultimate ground of all being, it has always been. That's not the issue. The issue is our relationship with that, our practice of that, our regular spiritual practice of that. That's how we embody the thing. That's how we experience the thing. That's how we wake up in the morning with the thing and go to sleep at night, knowing that there's a power that's right there with us, that's resident within us, and it's resident within everyone we're ever going to meet. Through regular, repetitive spiritual practice, we unfold the gifts of the Spirit, and we find our own power, which was all about what Reverend Arthur said last week, that you get into a way of thinking sometimes that maybe life has passed you by. You know, we have a congregation here at Creative Life, the age demographic of which has advanced, shall we put it that way. I've been with you a long time, and when I started here, actually I was the first one here. When I started here, it was most of the people more or less about my age or a little older. Most of the people here are still about my age or a little older. So I say this because sometimes when people of a certain age, I hate that expression, but let's move on. When people of a certain, they hear, you can do anything. I've had people tell me this. You can do anything. You can be creative. You can be a superstar in your own life. They're like, where was this information 40 years ago when I could have used it? Well, here's the thing. It's as true today as it was then. It's as true today as it was then. You might say, well, I don't feel like starting a business. You know, I don't feel like launching out into some whole new thing in my life. There's something for you to do here that will catch your vision, that will boost your energy, that will put you really on fire for life. There is something here for you. And if you're open to it, you can get young again around it. You can return to the glory days of yesteryear inside your own life, where now you have a reason beyond just making it through the day. Now, that being said, I recognize, and we will light a candle or something next week when we celebrate, no, that's not the right word, commemorate, mark 1 year that we will have been virtual here at Creative Life, that all our centers will have been virtual. Some in other states are reconsidering some things, but not in this one. And so we look at how it's been to have to get through each day. It's been a struggle. I know that. It's still a struggle. Maybe it's even more of a struggle now because it's spring again. And, you know, spring fever and cabin fever, and people are wanting to get out and do things, and we're not really clear on if it's the time yet to do that. It's still a struggle. So, what you have to fight through each day is part of the package. The back of that is the vision of how your life could be, if it could be any way at all. So what I'm here to tell you today is that the great were once as you. This is a line from a poem that's quoted in a book by Venice Bloodworth, the book called Key to Yourself, whence the title for this series is taken. Venice Bloodworth was, well, you can Google her. She was an independent New Thought teacher in the 20th century. This is her best known work. And she has chapter headers in there from poetry, inspiring, uplifting, Bruce Barton and that kind of energy, if you're familiar with him. And it's this one line, the great were once as you. I'm going to read you another poem in a moment that has nothing to do with Venice Bloodworth, but has everything to do with you, and the great being once as you. Because who are the great? When you study history, you hear about Alexander the Great. You hear about Frederick the Great. You hear about Catherine the Great, and Peter the Great, and this the Great, and that the Great. And you know what they were great at? Wielding power. These people wielded power. Were they nice people? No. Were they pleasant people? Were they kindly and understanding people? Were they open-minded and generous people? No. But they wielded power, and that made them great. And in the eyes of the world, very often, traditionally, that has been the sign of greatness. The sign of excelling at something is being able to conquer your opponent, defeat the opposition, win at all costs. Is another definition of greatness. Greatness of spirit. Greatness like Gandhi's greatness. Greatness like Jesus' greatness. Greatness like that of the founders of New Thought, who were principally women. 12 of them in particular, 12 of them in particular, who in the late 19th and into the 20th century faced down all of the ridiculous opposition to women's leadership that presented itself at that time, especially in the area of religion, organized religion. and they spoke their truth, and people flocked to them as students. They offered healing, and not just healing, but the technique of healing that could be repeated by anyone, anywhere, which is why we have it today. And the particular founder of this teaching, though a man, Ernest Holmes, writes copiously throughout all of his body of work that he owes everything that he knows about this teaching to the instruction of various women along the way. Mary Baker Eddy, whose words he heard as a very young man, if not a child, all the way to Emma Curtis Hopkins, and he was her last private student in the 1920s. And so these women were great. Emma the Great, I nominate her. We don't have saints in New Thought. I don't know why not. It might be a thing. But Emma should be nominated for something like this. Ursula Gestefeld. Have you ever heard of Ursula Gestefeld? Well worth a read. Frances Lord, another one. Myrtle Fillmore. You may have heard of Charles. Well, Myrtle Fillmore of the Unity School. And Florence Scovel Shinn. My grandmother studied with her. All of these amazing teachers over the years stood up to convention, stood up to limitation, said you can do this. Their teachers were their students were principally women too, but not entirely. They were the great. Now you're the great. Every teacher wants their student to surpass them. Every teacher worth being called a teacher, worth the honor of being called a teacher, wants their students to surpass them. Reverend Ronnie and I were talking about this on Wednesday night over sandwiches. We're so creative live, you know. We're back there and we're eating, we're all like this, and we're like, oh, we're on in 1 minute. Now, well, we'll have some coffee, you know. It's just really, really cool. And you were kind enough to, you know, indulge us as we got ready for all this. But we were talking about this. He said, you've got some other ministers here. So he just met Reverend Lisa. He met one other person in the room who's soon to be one, you know, and without naming names. And he said, that's very good. I said, thank you. And he said, that's very unusual. And I said, really? And he said, yeah, you'd be surprised, or maybe you wouldn't. Actually, I was. He said, you'd be surprised at how many ministers are afraid of competition. They don't want others to, you know, outshine them in whatever it is they do. And I mean, I don't want to say I don't have any competitive bone in my body. You know, it's like yeah, sure, you know, you want to do the best and all like this, but what I want more than anything else is for the people who watch these services to get the message, and if you get the message better from somebody else. I told Lisa, I said earlier, if I make it a third of the way through my talk today and I'm not making any sense, then I want y'all to set up a chant of we want Arthur, okay? I want you to get the message however you get it, and you're going to hear it from women, and you're going to hear it in a way that you can't hear it from me, that you can't hear it from Reverend Arthur. It's going to come in a different channel, a different wavelength. I don't know why. And it's not about gender. It's just about life experience. There's life experience that we each have that we bring into the teaching here that makes it particularly relevant to somebody who's watching this. All right, so great people in my book, if I had to make a list of what constitutes a great person, it would be kindness, generosity, goodness, also a backbone. I don't mean just, you know, they're like giving everything away constantly and all of this. Also a spine, also strength, interior strength, to try to do the right thing, to try to speak the truth, okay? to try to build a better world, and always to look within, always to be conscious of the self and its motives and its intentions and its ambitions and so on. So I've nominated the women of New Thought for the honor of the closest thing we have to sainthood, of greatness. And I have put in the weekly email that many of you get, which, by the way, if you don't, you can very easily. Constant Contact. I think there's a link in it. Yeah, there's a link in the comments today, or you can go to creativelife.org and just sign up there. We won't bombard you with stuff. About once a week, you'll get a message telling you what's going on here, and with some fun links and interesting things in it. And there's usually at the footer of it some bit of inspirational something or other. And today, this week, I gave you this, and I'm reading it for you now, this poem. Once in the dream of a night I stood, lone in the light of a magical wood, soul deep in visions that poppy-like sprang, and spirits of truth were the birds that sang, and spirits of love were the stars that glowed, and spirits of peace were the streams that flowed in that magical wood in the land of sleep. Lone in the light of that magical grove, I felt the stars of the spirits of love gather and gleam round my delicate youth, and I heard the song of the spirits of truth. To quench my longing, I bent me low by the streams of the spirits of peace that flow in that magical wood in the land of sleep. I read this the other week, and I just thought it was wonderful. And I sat there with it, and I thought, yeah, that place, what is that place? And who is this poet? Her name was Sarojini Naidu. She lived from 1879 to 1949. She was known as the Nightingale of India. Sarojini was a child prodigy, activist, and poet. After studies at King's College London and Cambridge, she returned to India to work alongside Mahatma Gandhi. She became the first woman president of the Indian National Congress and the first woman governor of Uttar Pradesh state. And so in honor of Women's History Month and International Women's Day tomorrow, I present to you Sarojini Naidu, and we will have a different poet each week, maybe more than one. Okay, why did I read this to you? Well, here's a person who combined a mystical consciousness, you can tell from her work, with deep engagement in the world, in improving the lives of her people. That's the point of a deep mystical exercise, is to be able to bring it back into the world and make a difference in real life activity here. But turned around the other way, it's also the source of the ability to make a difference in the world and keep going with it, this mystical awareness. So when I say the great were once as you, the point of that poem, as Venice Bloodworth has it in her book, it's all inspiring and you can do it, is that everybody who's rich now was once poor, or their family was, if you go far enough back. And everybody who's famous now was once unknown. And we hear that and we think of 30 years ago or 50 years ago, somebody was just starting out, and now they're all that. But what I want to tell you is that the great were once as you this morning. The great were once as you last night. The great people of this world, the people who are making a difference, the people whose names will echo down the ages, may have gotten up this morning depressed. They may have gotten up this morning lonely. They may have gotten up today confused. They forget who they are from time to time. They run out of gas from time to time, you know? They're not machines. They're not AI out there just generating obliviously to anything, some kind of product into the world. They're real flesh and blood people, the great among us, and always have been. And they have, as I say, the same doubts and maybe more. Maybe more because they play in maybe a larger field, Maybe they work on bigger problems than you and I have. When you look at your problems in the course of a week, it's fairly straightforward. You got stuff you got to take care of, and then you have a few kind of worries that hover over you about the future. Well, what if you were responsible for ending world hunger? What if you were responsible for cleaning the oceans? What if you had taken on some high-level agreement of how you were going to play in this world? You might have more paranoia, more worry, more burden than anyone else. But they know where to go. They know where to go to fix that, the great. How they get there, how they found it, bunch of interesting stories. And this is what Sarojini was able to do. I know very little about her at this point. I plan to learn more. She just came across my field of vision on Friday. And somehow, she visited that magical wood at will. First visit may have come to her in a dream. She got up and wrote a poem about it. Later, she went there at will. How do I know that? Look at what she accomplished. How do I know that? Look at the strength that she carried throughout her life, those 70 years. She knew where to turn. Did she get that from her Hinduism? Did she get that from other reading or other study, other practice? Does it matter? No. Maybe if you were to read what she read, study with the people she studied with, Gandhi for one, it would rub off. Or maybe it would fall on deaf ears. And it would be something else for you. But you know where to look. It's within. You know where to look within to find your greatness there. And if you're a young person out there watching this, who has your whole life ahead of you, and you're really tired of being told you have your whole life ahead of you, you nevertheless do. And you can take these words and take this inspiration and use it and go find it and start something right now. And if you're a person who is retired from the workforce, if you're a person who feels like your best years are behind you, you can take this information right now and use it and create some amazing thing in the world. It's not too late. It's never too late. It's never too late. And it's especially never too late when you consider the fact, as I believe, and as actually the religions of the world tell us kind of in chorus, you never end. You never end when you leave this life. You go on into some new experience, and there are things to do and things to become, and this is what I choose to believe. And if that's the case and time never runs out, then when is the right time to start? When is the wrong time to start? When have you missed the bus? You never have. You never have. Right now, start today. Go to this source within yourself. Over the week, Reverend Arthur is in a class with us on Thursday nights, a class that he's had, but he's reviewing it, which is really cool, and you can do that too, and more classes will be announced soon throughout the summer and beyond. But he told us of his schedule, which I won't share because it's his personal business, but he told us how he breaks up his day and what he does over the course of his day. And the man has a great deal of self-discipline. He's got a particular, right? Yeah. He's got a particular fixed set of activities that he undertakes. Some of them having to do with self-care and some of them having to do with, things out in the world and working, of course, and improving other people's lives, and coaching people and inspiring people, both as individuals and in groups. Well, he set a schedule. It's not one I'd choose to keep, the timing of it, and that's just me, But he set a schedule. We schedule everything else. We record our TV shows, right? We walk the dog when the dog needs walking. We schedule meals for our kids, for our families, We schedule tune-ups for the car to have the oil changed. We'll schedule the technicians to come in and do, whatever work needs done around the house. We'll schedule every last thing. They tell us when to put our garbage on the curb and so forth and so on. Why is it so hard to schedule spiritual practice? Why is it so hard to schedule spiritual practice? Because we tell ourselves this other stuff is more important. No, it isn't. It's just more urgent. Sometimes it's more compelling. It's also more known and familiar. I know how to walk the dog. I know how to put out the garbage. I have no idea when I meditate what's going to show up. I have no idea when I do spiritual mind treatment what set of feelings I'm going to delve into within myself. I have no idea. So it takes commitment. It takes commitment. And if you'll commit, I'm going to talk to you for just this last moment as you, my friends, you, my beloveds, watching today. If you'll commit to take the time to do regular spiritual work of prayer and meditation, you will find yourself escorted into that magical, mystical wood that Sarojini told us about, or the equivalent, might be a mountaintop, seaside for you, where you will find a peace, a tranquility, a sense of power and comfort and strength, and also inspiration. I was reading about, there's some, is it in France? I think there's a seaside village that has a red fishing shack. And this red fishing shack has been painted by countless painters, famous and not, over the years. From the same vantage point, they set up and they look across the pier and they paint the same red shack. You know, I don't know what they see in it that's inspired them so much, but you'll find that thing, that icon, that totem that will inspire you, that will move you. Just do your spiritual work. If you'd like some structure around that, as I mentioned, we have classes, you heard about book studies, we have all sorts of portals. This is what we do. Nothing is held back from you. It's not like, oh God, we can't teach people how to pray or they won't need us. You know, everything is just laid out there like a banquet. You want to learn how to meditate, we can help. You want to learn how to pray effectively, as Scripture talks about, in faith believing, we can help. Not alone unto the good and great, said Ernest Holmes, has come the soft tread of the unseen guest. But we are that greatness. We are that greatness in potential. So this process called spiritual mind treatment goes like this. There is one life, one power, one presence. And on this sweet, almost spring day, it is so easy to feel its presence close to me, within me, as me. I am one with it. As spirit creates, so nature creates. As nature creates, so I create. I plant a seed in consciousness, and it takes root, and it grows. And it manifests as a body of outcomes. It manifests maybe as a whole forest of new forms. It all starts with a seed planted in mind. Today I plant the seed of commitment to greatness, fullness, wholeness. In truth, there is no competition. Nothing stands in my way, nor seeks to. No other person can hold me back, nor would it even occur to them to try. For life is built to work. And I claim now that human society mirrors this. And false enmity and opposition and fear just melt away back into the nothingness from which they came. For whatever our opinions, whatever our affiliations, there is one life before us to live. The life of God in us. I affirm and know for myself, and you can join me in knowing this for yourself if you will, the maintenance of a regular spiritual practice, prayer, meditation, maybe some rituals, some journaling, whatever else comes into it, all in the service of a vision of something like a magical wood on a moonlit night. And from this, from that place in consciousness, there streams power, comfort, warmth, and good for this knowing. And its manifestation in form everywhere we turn. In gratitude for all the great teachers that have come before us, all the women who have shown us the way, and in acceptance of all that is yet to come. I say thank you, infinite presence of life, Mother, Father, God, that this is so, and so it is.
I think after a year of doing this, I'm starting to feel like one of those German clocks where we rotate on and off the stage. Who did that song?
John Lennon. We did.
That was John Lennon? Well, yeah, y'all did it, and y'all did a fabulous job. John Lennon? Okay. It sounded vaguely familiar, but... Okay. What was the name of it?
Instant Karma.
Oh, Instant Karma. Okay.
We all shine.
Instant Karma, We All Shine On by John Lennon. And I'm saying that out loud for the people on YouTube because I have to take the music out for YouTube. So please look that song up if you don't watch us on Facebook. It was really amazing. And that I think that's a good way you can check yourself is to say instant karma. And depending on how it makes you feel, might give you an idea of where you're standing in your life. It's along the lines of, I hope you get what you deserve. If somebody says that to you, does that make you happy or does it make you cringe? So, and I don't know where I'm going with that, and I don't know where I'm going with whatever it is that I'm about to say, although I do have a suggestion for you based on what Jesse said about spiritual practice. Maybe you want to get an accountability partner. Like when you work out, you have an accountability partner, whether it's somebody who does the practice with you, either in person or virtually, or you, somebody that you, I don't want to say the word report to, but that you meet with and discuss on a regular basis your spiritual practice. Because since my accountability is literally you on Facebook, I've been doing at least one of my spiritual practices every day at 9 a.m. And I really honestly think I see the benefit of that. So I've dug pretty deep into Ernest Holmes this year. So perhaps you might consider, if scheduling spiritual practice seems a bit weird, what about a spiritual practice accountability partner? Somebody that you do a spiritual practice with, or somebody that you meet with on a regular basis to discuss, among other things, your spiritual practice. It might encourage you to schedule that spiritual practice. Now, it is time to release you back into the world. And I won't say the mundane world, because there's nothing mundane about our world. Our world is beautiful, wonderful, and sacred. And I believe that, and I make the honest effort to treat the world that way. I make the honest effort to treat people that way. And I say the honest effort because am I 100% successful? No. But that's my accountability. I'm making the effort. And the more I practice, the better I get. So take that for what it's worth. And may you get what you deserve. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm going to stop amusing myself now. And now I'm going to amuse God by saying that there is one life, one power, one presence, one love. I am a part of that love. It flows in me, as me, through me. Just as I know that it flows through each and every one of you. That love flows through us out into the world. It is that love that is absolutely the power to do anything. It has the power to set us on fire for life. Because that's really what we want. Whatever it is that we do, we want it to make our souls burn bright. And I know the place to go. And I hold that place to go. I hold that place in the center of me where nothing has ever been wrong. That place where I meet the unfiltered source. I know that place. I hold that place. And I hold that place for you. I shine the light of love on the pathway so you join me in that place. That place where we go to fill up. That place where we go to know ourselves. That place where we go to see the spark that will set the world on fire. And I know this place with all of the gratitude in my being. And I release it, knowing that I can come back anytime with my eyes open, with my eyes closed, when I'm dreaming, when I'm looking into your eyes. I see that place. And I release my word into law, knowing it is done, even as I speak these words, and so it is.
Say with me now, something wonderful is happening through me.
Wonderful is happening through me.
I feel it in my body.
I feel it in my mind.
I feel it in my mind.
I feel it in my mind.
I feel it in everything I am.
I feel it in everything I am.
I choose it.
I choose it.
I trust it.
I trust it.
I use it.
I use it.
And I love it.
And I love it.
And so it is.
So